don't know. I don't know. When I die, I die. If there's a heaven and a hell out there, I sure hope I go to the heaven instead of to the hell. If there's not one out there, I guess I hadn't wasted a lot. I've lived a pretty good life simply because I have followed some moral codes the Bible gave me, and that's pretty good. But the amazing thing about the Bible, and the reason it's easy for me to continue to maintain faith in God when I'm not stupid, I've questioned all the same things you've all questioned. I've had the same professors in school and the same teachers who mocked and made fun of religion. I've been through it in debates with a handful of people who absolute atheists and some absolute agnostics. I've listened to all the arguments, read them, read the books against God, all that stuff. It's out there. I've questioned my own faith a number of times. And one of the things, I don't even lean on empirical evidence of God as much as I lean on a couple of things that are just solid concrete to me. But the people who, including ministers, who sometimes poo-poo the Bible and kind of mock it, I think they must not have read it. They must not get it. You ever hear anybody say, oh, well, I guess you're like a Bible thumper in a flat earth society person? You know the Bible never says the earth's flat, don't you? You do know that's not in the Bible, don't you? You know there's nothing in the Bible that ever declared the earth to be flat. That just came out of Tennessee and East Texas. That's not Scripture. And a handful of, critics and mockers. And then you have somebody say, well, you know, if you don't believe Jesus, God made the world in 6 days, or you're just not a Bible believer. You do know the Bible doesn't say God made the earth in 6 days, don't you? Because the sun and the moon is how we get our time and calibrate a 24-hour day. And the Bible itself says that wasn't created till the 4th day. So those first 3 days weren't 24 hours because the sun and the moon hadn't been hung in place yet. Genesis is a poetic description of the creation of all things. And somebody said, well, then how do we all have dirt in us? You all came from the dirt. Here's a fascinating thing in the story of the Bible. I don't care if you believe in creation or evolution, as long as you give God credit for it. And you know why I can say that? Because there's a verse in the Bible, 2 verses actually, but here's the classic. And the earth brought forth every living creature. And the very next verse says, so God made them. Now, isn't that clever? That 3,500 years ago, a man could have written a poetic description of the beginning of all things, trying to get our finite minds to wrap around an infinite God. And for 3,500 years, nothing was written that can be mocked and criticized and torn out and thrown away by any revelation that science has brought around. Did we come from all the worms and things around? I don't know. Doesn't make any difference because I follow the second verse after that, the next verse after that, which says, so God made all things. Is the earth 5 million years old? I don't think so. I think the earth is timeless. Because until the sun and the moon were created, 24 hours a day did not exist. That doesn't mean, well, that was 1 million years ago. That means time wasn't measured in our system. Our system only measures time because it's what we have, 24 hours. That's the way it works out. You men have measured it. Hey, we passed. Hey, we were here 12 months ago. Let's keep a chart of it. Okay, we will. And here we are. And here's a book, 3,500 years old, that can't be thrown out. I can throw out everything anybody's ever written. Nobody ever wrote it. I've got sermons from the 1800s. I've got volumes of sermon books from the 1800s from some of the great revolutionary preachers. I can discard bunches of them because they could not build a sermon without getting into current politics and current theological debates that made no sense because they were just trying to beat the Calvinist or trying to beat somebody else over here on this side. And then I read the sermons and realize, he had a bone to pick. And he was building a sermon around his theology. Throw it out. Doesn't fit the Bible. And you can find a bunch of sermons from the 1800s that preachers tried to dabble into science instead of just let the Bible speak for itself. Throw it out. And then here's the Bible. You just can't throw it out. And the handful of professors that write stupid things now and then they get on Facebook, I read them and say, he never read it. He's never read the account. He's never actually read it. He just trusted Uncle Johnny, told him that God said I did it in 6 days, but that's enough for me. That's not what Genesis says at all. I challenge you. Don't criticize anything you hadn't studied. Don't mock anything you don't understand just because you don't understand it. Get back in the Word and discover how amazing it is that 3,500 years ago, God inspired Moses and those scribes to begin to write the history so that we would have it preserved, how God created all things in such a mysterious way our finite minds couldn't pick it up anyway. For all you and I know, we're in our whole solar system and Milky Way, we might just be in a big glass jar up on a shelf somewhere. Like we understand the infinite. We haven't even explored the depths of the ocean yet because we can't handle the pressure to get down there. But we think we know everything because, well, we got somebody on the moon once. Read the book. Read it well. Get passionate about it. And remember this, you got a course that you're supposed to be on.